welcome to Upstage Downstage, with him, Richard Platt, seated in the upper circle.
And him, Stephen Rees, typically seated in the cheap seat.
This is the Theatre Podcast, where we discuss productions we've seen,
Things we've liked,
and may not have liked,
giving our complete unprofessional
and non-biased opinions.
So grab a brew,
Take a seat,
and let's raise that curtain.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing Abigail's Party. We saw this production at Derby Theatre on the 28th of April 2023. Abigail's Party premiered at the Hampstead Theatre in 1977, with the role of Beverly being immortalised by Alison Steadman, a ferocious black comedy and landmark of 20th century theatre. So Richard, what's it all about?
Beverly and husband Lawrence will play host to neighbours Angela, Tony and Sue. As the alcohol flows and the nibbles are handed around, Mike Lee's ruthless, achingly funny examination of 1970s British life begins.
But first, our post-show opinion!
A hilarious masterpiece by London Classic Theatre.
A stunning 70s show, and I'm glad I was invited to this party.
So with all that said, let's...
Set the scene!
So Stephen,
What?
describe the set. It's your turn.
No, it can't be, really.
I think you're an eager beaver to talk about this one.
I must admit, I do love this set. I think this is just glorious. It's so yummy.
So as we walk into the auditorium, what did you see?
I saw some lovely pieces of furniture. The sofa and the two seats were just divine. So let's start with the back of the stage, the flats. They were...
You're in a house, not a flat.
Yes, but the flats of the house, so the walls...
But it's a house, not a flat.
Yes, but I'm describing it. The sets were like a shadow. What do you call it? Not a shadow, a
Silhouette.
Stencil.
Silhouette.
A silhouette. We'll
Yeah.
go with that then.
And
If that makes
stencil,
you happy.
really.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I could be right. So it's a silhouette stencil.
Cut out, pop-up
cut
card.
out. So it was basically imitating the rooftops of the house, and at the very corner, because the set, the back of the stage was more of like a triangle.
Yeah.
9 degrees.
Yeah.
Any more on that? Yeah.
So was it obtuse or...
You're obtuse. So it was a 90-degree angle, so everything was facing towards us naturally. So at the very, this is going really well, isn't it?
You're doing good.
I'll be really crap at give me a clue.
You're good in describing. You need
I don't know any describing words.
sounds like.
Sounds like.
I mean, we can't do film or
Can't do
we can't
film.
do charades on this, you know.
Film. Okay, so film. It's like a house.
Yeah.
No, I don't know where to go. 'Cause I've got no descriptive skills.
Stephen just made the KFC sign and the
did
Pizza Hut,
Oh, did I?
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Starving. Hang on, let me just have some wine. So, the very back of the flat is like a bit of a chimney breast, and then it goes into like the rooftops. So we think they're in. So the back of the stage basically makes up this avenue, this close, this group of houses that they're in. The wallpaper on the back is that of a 70s design, so it's sort of floral pattern but repeated, but it's quite large, the floor pattern, and quite oh, you're gonna have to help me out here. What the geometry is?
Yeah, it's very geometric. It's almost like looking in a kaleidoscope.
Okay, that's
so when
enough
you
now.
start turning it,
Yep,
it's like
yep.
like a
So
you know,
basically, it's
tile.
like looking in a kaleidoscope, like I just said. So, so the bottom of oh look, Richard, it's almost a circular rug.
No, it wasn't a circular rug.
No, it was a hexagonal one.
It
This is
was.
all about the
That's
shapes today, isn't
That's
it?
a big word. That is.
I know.
Have you learned that recently?
At the weekend, yes.
Well
Yes.
done.
Thank you. So the living room is presented by being broken down into. So the walls are made up of. Oh God! What are you calling them?
Bureaus?
Bureaus, not wardrobes.
Bookcases.
Bookcases.
To be honest, it's a bit of
That's it.
everything.
Oh, I'm really.
It's a
struggling
bit of
today.
everything, though, in a way.
So you've got a drinks cabinet and a bit of a God, what would you call that?
You've got a hatch.
Welsh dresser.
Yeah, a
sort
bit of a
ish.
Welsh dresser feel. It's a china cabinet. It's
basically all those little things. So one holds the record player. There's ornaments, drinks cabinet. There's one part which opens up so you see through like a serving hatch into the dining room.
Yeah.
Another one one of the drawers open down like a bureau, so it's the office with the telephone in it, and then to either side of the stage, there's just places that sets of drawers that wasn't really used other than to put stuff on top of and to store things like the drinks and stuff. So it was all in a walnutty colour. To be honest, it looked divine. And then on the rug, you've got these beautiful 3-piece suite leather, caramelly, would you say, colour, leather, fake leather.
It's like it's like your evaporated milk turned into caramel sauce.
So we've got carnation cream sort of colour going on here, and then just a tiny little coffee table at the front, and then at the very far back of the stage is a 4-seater dining table with a candelabra and a window.
Yeah.
And the only exits are behind stage right is the front door, which is behind the vinyl player, and I've just described it. What are it? A lot of ornaments in a cupboard. Well, it's
bookcase and china cabinet.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And to stage left, that makes up for the dining room, which then leads off into the kitchen. And above, we've got some glorious lamps here, lights that come down. So we've got 3 lights that come down over the dining room, which is off the main stage, and then you've just got the normal living room lamp. There, I think I've described the set exceptionally well.
Well done, Stephen.
Do I get the gig?
Yeah, you do. A little bit. Close.
You're going to recast this bit, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to recast it. I mean, one thing I would say...
Edit me out.
One thing I'd say. I'm going to say a few things, actually.
Go on then, what's the key?
Well, the key to this is obviously traditionally
Detail.
with a production of this age, a lot of the setting and the scenery would be flats that would be all very, very sort of. There'd be.
You're at it. You don't even know what you're waffling on about.
I do know what I'm on about. I do, honestly.
I think it's something in that Cherry Bakewell.
A lot of the flats would be almost to the ceiling height and wall height, and just a flat top with no sort of point to them or no shape to them. They'd just be a set on stage that felt like a front room or a room in that way, rather than like they've done in this production, where they've trailed your eye up to the middle of the point of the stage, really, and it's done a good job of almost creating a blurred line between the darkness behind it, because behind these flats there's just nothing, it's just black, which actually helps and keeps your focus on the room. And it's actually quite clever by doing this, that wherever you sit in the audience, you would watch it and still have the element of that wallpaper behind them, because there's more height at the back of stage with the wallpaper on.
Which goes towards the angle of it 90 degrees.
Yes.
So the eye is...
If it was flat and cut off at, say, 8 foot, it would have just... People would have seen more of the behind the stage, and it wouldn't have felt like you were sucked into the 70s world almost. And the other thing that you would have normally seen is where Stephen talked about the bookcases, bureaus, the hatch and things like that.
I mean, I talked about it. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to achieve it.
You did well. I mean, the one thing I'd say is that...
Just words just escaped me.
Normally, in this type of aged theatre, that, I mean, I'm not going to credit this as being an old piece of theatre,
but the actual
script, the script is
70s, period now.
So we're talking something 50 years ago, and bookcases and bureaus wouldn't have been used as flats into exits off stage and stuff like that in that way. So it's clever use of almost creating a bureau on acid, because a lot of properties wouldn't...
bureau on acid?
Yeah, because a lot of properties would have had a bureau, a bookcase and a china cabinet. They wouldn't necessarily have them all joined together in a big long wall unit in the 70s. It'd more be pieces of furniture you'd bought when you could afford them, because, you know, it wouldn't have just been all these big long units. But they did it really well, where the hatch was integrated into the bureau. So it felt like a wall, but you couldn't see the the wall above it, so it worked really well.
Yeah, it made to imply that there were walls
Yeah,
between rooms, so
yeah, and
make more space and more rooms out of the one space that they've got on the set on the stage.
and in a way, there was a little nod to almost the 60s and a bit of a crossover with the coffee table, because the coffee table wasn't actually as fitting with the rest of the design, because it was more country house, grand.
No, is it? Am I right in thinking it's got Queen Anne legs?
Yeah, it's got Queen Anne legs, so it actually looks. It was almost like it's like a hand-me-down. It gave you the impression that it was something that was a grandparents passed down through the family, and they still love it and use it. But it gives you the impression that it's not a show home. It's more of an actual house that you'd have a piece of furniture in there that was part of the family's.
Show coffee table. That is.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't fit within the aesthetics of everything else being very walnut wood. You'd expect a walnut wood coffee table, and that's why it was quite clever in that way.
This is very true.
Yes.
So do you think we've now described the set and confused everyone listening, or our one listener?
Well, there will be a picture on
mother.
social media for you to actually make your own mind up. So,
There we go. So do follow us on Instagram and Twitter and wherever we're at, Richard.
Facebook.
And anywhere else we're at? No? Is that it?
That's it.
Well, I don't know. So, yeah, the picture will be out there somewhere or not or other. So, we shall move on to the big bones of this production.
What, the cheese and pineapple of this production?
That is the meat and bone of it.
But no olives.
No, I like olives.
I like olives.
Prefer on the buses.
Everybody does.
In fact, the rag trade. But anyway, I'm going off tangent, but still, it's in keeping with the 70s. Don't choke on your tea again. Have you got on your left? I'm surprised you've not swallowed that. It's come out your nose. So, let's touch upon the writing first, because it's easier to do it this way around, I feel.
Yeah.
Mike Leigh, brilliant.
Totally.
And I first learnt of this play when I was at university, Derby University, incidentally, 2007. I think we did a little piece on this, and it was interesting, and I quite liked it. And I've seen the DVD of Alison Steadman do it, which is that's iconic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's very much, although he's billed as writing it, it was very much the actors found the character, lived in that character, and worked on it themselves to create this piece of theatre, this drama. All this stuff going on in this house.
And also it's very fixed in that vision of seeing that cast originally that were in it in the BBC production and creating those roles, really. They create...
So everyone, in a way, imitates them slightly.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Yeah, of course.
We shall say. Yes. But to me, I don't think there was anything wrong with this script at all. Watching it again, seeing the production company, the London Classic Theatre, do this was just phenomenal all the way through, and there was nothing I could change or add to the script at all. So it was really, really good. The one thing we did notice, though, when we did leave the auditorium, we're leaving the auditorium now. We've not actually sat into the auditorium.
Sat in our seats, and
we're talking about leaving it now. Was it the interval or just at the end? And some people...
Oh, the end?
Yeah, what did they say?
Oh, I just heard somebody say next to me. That was a bit weird.
Yeah, the ending.
And I thought, have you paid attention to what's happened? Because
and the build up to it.
Because in a way, I mean, I was just looking at the distance in time when it was on BBC to actually when it debuted as a production, and it actually opened in July of 1977, and in November it was actually on the BBC. So it must have been quite groundbreaking at that point to actually have had confidence to put it on BBC One as a play for today, where we actually, we've gone from, it's only just been launched and it's actually gone out. So it's actually must have been they must have took to it very quickly at that point,
Yes, because I know quite a lot of playwrights, they did, back then in the 70s, they did write plays and do, like you say, play for days or armchair theatre and all those kind of tea time plays, one act things or whatever. So there was a lot of of those kind of plays being televised at that time.
But then as well, I suppose not everyone's been as memorable, maybe, as this one. I mean, everybody almost, if you've done theatre and done amateur theatre, there's a lot of times this has probably been referenced or talked about as a piece. And it's quite interesting how not all of them are remembered, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah, and what interests me about this is the fact that it's called Abigail's Party, but this isn't the party that's Abigail's.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always thought years and years ago, before I knew the play, that it was about Abigail's Party. But of course it wasn't. It was about people getting together to discuss, or, well, not necessarily to discuss, but to have concerns about a party going on over the road.
A couple of doors down, basically, yeah.
I think that's probably where do I say groundbreaking? Because it sort of isn't now, but it might have been then. I'm not quite sure. But it was quite interesting to have that take on it, to have that play be called something, but it's not about that.
No,
but it's
exactly.
about the reaction to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about the because obviously it's almost a look into everyday life and looking down a street and hearing noise further down, and families and people, they might not go down and challenge people or say keep it down, but they'll talk about it, chunt about it, and I think that's what this capsulated, really.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said about the BBC production and everyone being aware of this play, I think everyone is aware of Alison Steadman and Jane Dubrovnik.
Exactly.
Oh God, it's not Jane Dubrovnik, is it?
Harriet Reynolds?
No, the original BBC series. You know Jane?
Janine
Janine
Davitsky.
That's it.
It's all right. No, there's a different Susan in the BBC version than was on stage. They've got put the original
Susan,
cast on the front row, on the front row.
Right. Yeah. So yes, everyone would know of the BBC and Alison Steadman being Beverly in that series, as well as Janine Davitsky playing Angela. They probably know the others as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think everyone who knows those knows that they were in Abigail's Party. So it's quite a feat for anybody, any theatre company trying to do this as well, because they've sort of got to live up to expectations as well in a way.
Well, the bar's set.
I suppose it's a bit like anybody doing the importance of being earnest and someone saying a handbag. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
They've got to sort of match Edith Evans, essentially.
Yeah, and also, those members in the cast haven't just done Alison Steadman. They haven't just done Alison Steadman. They haven't just done Abigail's Party following that. They've been in a lot of things that then link them back to it, because you if you look into somebody's career and you remember them in a lot of other things they've been in, it always then takes you back to finding that Abigail's Party was around.
But I suppose also because they originated the text, shall we say?
Yes, exactly.
Because they were the originals. It's no different to seeing like hello, hello on stage.
Of course.
Something like that. You expect the mannerisms of the original Renee, like Gordon Kay or anyone else from those kind of comedy programs that are on stage.
And it's such a risk to play, say, the Renee character when you're so used to Renee.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same sort of thing with this. You're so used to that character being that person, and that's why it takes a lot to.
But you can also make the role your own, which
of course,
we will go on to in the acting segment. Now, set in 1977 and also written in that period, or created in that period, is of the same time period as A Bedroom Farce, the Alan Ayckbourn shows as well, the golden era of your comedy, not just on the TV but on the stage as well, and it does seem to fit that kind of situational front room family politics and people getting on and having kind of issues with each other.
It's quite interesting that that's something I was going to say is the crossover between actors on stage and actors in TV in that era did both. There weren't actors that basically didn't get the screen time. Nowadays, there's a lot of actors that that originate theatre or originate productions and don't actually end up on TV.
Well, the incidentally, I think it was the Alan Ayckbourn ones. I don't know if it was Norman Conquest or it was something after then, but it was your Penelope Wilton. No, not Penelope Wilton. Oh, yeah, she might have been here, but I think Penelope Keith or Penelope Wilton.
Yeah.
And then you got your Felicity Kendalls.
Yeah.
Not like loads of her.
No. Yeah. She cloned.
Yeah, and then Briars, Richard Briars.
Yeah, Richard Briars. Yeah.
All doing Ayckbourn.
Yeah.
All from Stephen Joseph Theatre. But
definitely.
they went on to do the same production as a BBC piece.
Exactly.
So it would have been
whereas
the same kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
when we look at things now, it's interesting because, for example, Wizard of Oz that's transferred from Leicester Curve has had a complete cast change when it's moved to London.
Yes, it has.
Rather than getting the original people that originated the roles in those roles down in London, it's very interesting how that happens now. Whereas in those in the 70s, it was they were on TV, they were in the productions, they were doing they're working they were working actors, and it's very interesting the difference in that way.
I wonder maybe it's because the acting profession was more close knit back then.
Yeah, maybe
There were less production companies, maybe,
and also there's probably less actors around in the sense of the productions they worked because you didn't have the social medias of the world and things like that. It was you were working.
What I would like to suggest about the writing is, could this ever be updated?
That's interesting.
Because if Sue's got a daughter, Abigail, having a party in this age, would she be bothered? Would she be texting?
Would they be living together?
Yeah, would they at all? Is there a need for people to stay together?
I think maybe we joked about flats, houses, this, that, and the other. Maybe if it was in a flat block and they were upstairs, the flat above, that may have had more that might have had worked if you'd have modernised it.
Maybe.
Because it's that pressure cooker of, everybody knows everybody a little bit more maybe in flats than we do on streets now. Mm-hmm. So you could have maybe pulled it off in that way by having that
maybe
dynamic, because not many people interact the same as they did in the 70s on the streets. Maybe that's something that could have been done, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you might not have peanuts. You might have Pringles instead. You might have some vegan cheese.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have had records.
Well, yeah, actually.
Oh, yeah, true.
They might.
They would have.
Who knows? Yeah.
You see,
But it might have been Ariana Grande or whatever her name is. Ariana.
I think the distractions of the world today may have made it difficult to update it if you'd have not included mobile phones, other influences that are more modern day, because people find other things to do, or they go further afield, or they don't necessarily. Would they have gone 2 doors? Would her mum have gone of 2 doors down the road to get away from the party, or would she just gone?
Well, to think Lawrence comes back to use the bureau, to use a telephone and stuff. Well, you do everything on your mobile.
He wouldn't have even been there.
There we go.
He'd just come in late,
Yeah,
if they'd need beers, he'd have just called to get them, got them delivered. Yeah, exactly. So so it's interesting, like you say. Could you be updated? I think potentially, but it would take a lot of work.
And the thing with Beverly, it seems like she needs something to do or to occupy her to gain attention.
Yes,
because that's sort of in her characteristics. Because she's not getting any attention. She'll be on Instagram.
She'll be on TikTok. She'll be TikToking.
She will. She'll be playing like Farmville or something. Yeah. Or on the internet doing something.
She'll be sharing videos, photos, and all. And I think that's where it's very interesting when you.
Something should be left in the past to enjoy what they were.
And because you didn't have all that distraction, it is all in one room and there isn't that outside world breaking in too much. And I think that might have been...
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It makes life more difficult but fun.
Yeah,
There's
it
more
does.
pressure.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have all the gadgets and gizmos and whatever, it's harder to sort of work your way around it because it's just easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can watch a TV show, something happens. Why don't they just phone for help? Oh, look, the battery died.
And not just
because they know that in real life probably batteries don't die, but they need to do it for storytelling.
And would people have had cheese and pineapple? I mean, I would. But
I would.
But would it be a thing when you
for that.
in the world of ordering takeaways and those sort of things. It's
Look,
very...
I'm the kind of guy that has pineapple on pizza, so judge me now.
Yeah, we can order that and have it delivered.
Yeah, but I ask for it extra and it never gets put on.
That's disappointing.
Not ordering a pizza again from that particular place.
Try
Anyway,
another one.
we've digressed yet again.
But it is a good question, Stephen, about modernising something that's 50 years old.
Yeah, because I saw a bedroom farce. I think I've said it in one podcast we did, where they updated it with mobile phones. It worked. However, with this, I mean, it could still work, but
I think it would feel like they've got a mobile phone in the hand, and it would have been very difficult to have,
Yeah. But I think it's not just about the mobile phone, though, when you update it. It's about everything.
Of course it is.
What will be the reason behind these characters feeling the way they do anyway?
Exactly.
I don't know. I love it for what it is. Moving on to the direction now, Richard.
Yeah.
It was directed by Michael Cabot, who incidentally also directed Boeing, which we got the chance to see at Derby Theatre.
Yeah, we did.
And I quite like that production.
Yeah,
it was really
I did
good.
too. Yeah.
A few little issues, however.
Yeah. But as a directed as a piece, I think it was done really well and it was strong in its structure and performance.
Boeing.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So, with this production, how did you feel, Richard?
Well, yet again, Michael did a great job.
Outstanding job.
It was really, really good, and it must be such an honour to do a script like this that's so well known.
Do it justice.
But also have a cast
in our eyes, anyway.
But also have a cast that embrace it.
Yes.
I think that's important because a director's useless if they haven't got the cast on board and they're not going to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And you need the cast to understand the characters and to portray the characters for it to have any meaning.
And they need to know their character inside out, upside down. They've got to have that commitment to it, really, and then the directing becomes fun. You can enjoy the process, and you can see that this process has been enjoyed. As in, yes, we're seeing it sort of halfway through the run, but I do feel that this would have hit the ground running from the start. I've got a feeling that,
we could probably touch more on the direction side of things when we talk about the acting.
Yeah, of course.
For the nuanced bits. But there was never a missed beat at all.
And the blocking was brilliant.
For purpose.
Yeah, it was. We've talked in other podcast episodes where we've talked about people standing in a semicircle, stepping forward, stepping back, all taking their turn. This didn't
what do you
feel
say?
like
Move and bark.
Yeah, park and bark. Yeah,
bark.
This was in no ways park and bark. This was every part of stage was used, but for a reason. It was like playing a game of chess at certain points, because there was one moment where one cast member would be sat on one chair, then they'd move to another chair, but then the other one would move to the other chair, and it was all done for a reason, because it became part of the next scene, or it was a setup, but it was done. You didn't notice that. I did, because I'm looking at the sort of directing side of it, but it looked natural.
Yeah,
and
like when Tony went to pick up the peanuts, he moved to a different chair.
Yeah, or he'd stand by one of the bureaus.
And there was a moment where he first picks up the peanuts and goes to sit back down again after doing that, and that gave Beverly the opportunity to move when she's not doing anything.
Yeah.
To just change the bowl of peanuts so she's got something to do. So it was those kind of little details that
and it felt like they were
naturally moving around doing something.
Yeah, and it was little things like prop placement, and I'm not talking about what's on the bookcases and in the background. It was things like placement of remembering that somebody had put their purse down there, or somebody had put a plate with just a single cheese and pineapple that was going to then be used 2 scenes later, but it was placed perfectly so that when they showed it, it was there and it was in place, and then there was glasses being used, but I was watching them because I was fascinated where it was moving from one person to the other. Do you want a refill? Do you want this? Do you want that? And everybody got their own glass back. It was.
Do you want a top up, Sue?
But Sue got her own glass back.
Refill tone.
And it was so well directed in that way. And they're the bits the attention to detail that means so much in this sort of production.
Yes, and she didn't give out just any old glass, did
No.
she, to anybody? They were the right glass that
It was the
everyone
beer glass for the
drinking out.
beer. It was
Yes.
the right short glass for the whiskey, and it was everything just felt right, and it was just and
Not that we're talking about this as if we expect it to go wrong.
no,
It's just those little details where you look out, especially when we're critiquing things.
When
like
you're
this
in a
and you
pressure
think,
cooker,
will this happen?
Yeah, when you're in a pressure cooker setting, as in a production that's set in one room, there's not really anywhere to hide because you can't walk off to another scene and come on with a tray or this, that, and the other. Everything's already on there. So it's about where you put it and where you move it, not necessarily where you take it off and bring it back on. Because the only time they went off, they didn't come back on with props apart from a bag or a this or a that. It wasn't really anything. Most of it was already there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And unless they went around the corner to get stuff from the kitchen.
Yeah, but even then they didn't really bring much back in. It was all,
And I thought it was a brilliant use of the staging as well.
Totally.
Particularly the use of the serving hatch as well. That was quite, had comic timing. Well, it didn't have comic timing, but it allowed the actors to show off certain elements at certain sections of the script, so you could see straight through and see what they're doing. Particularly when Angela's looking at the lampshades.
Yeah, exactly. Like the hatch, it was directed with restraint because it wasn't used all the time. It never really opened for the first sort of section of the first half, and then when it was used really well, and it was just a specific point, and it lit it up even more, didn't it, as a production?
Yeah, it made it more livable, the whole set in itself, and more believable. And do you know what? I actually wanted to live in that set. I want that furniture. I want that sofa.
I do feel like that if I was
chairs.
sat on the sofa, I'd have told all my worries and all my problems. They'd have all melted away, sat on there with a shrink sat next to me with his clipboard out.
Oh, why has it got to be male?
Well,
it's just how you like it. Right, so I think, to be honest, with this director, he's done an outstanding job, and it's just hats off to Michael for doing this play justice. And this has just been, the set is beautiful, it is perfect, it's just wonderful, it's a joy to look at, and the directing is spot on, to be honest.
And for me, as a touring piece, you can tell that it all would have fit in a lorry or whatever, but it was done in such a way that it was thought out well, and there was whatever any set designer draws on a piece of paper, the director still needs to be able to perform that production within that space. And they've got to work together to make sure it's got everything they need and every bit. And I think this was a fine example of the two people working together really strongly to make a set very strong and very livable for the characters. And I think that's,
is that key?
I think it is.
I think that's key.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's key, isn't it?
It is. I think Michael Cabot understood the brief, and it's important with something like this because with such a big weight behind it, if you don't go to this level, it's not worth it. It would have been disappointing if it had been done with somebody that didn't take care with it, and I think that's the main thing with this. And
also, this is the kind of play that gets done to death by amateur theatre companies as well. So, I've not seen it done by an amateur theatre company.
I think I have a long time ago, but it is distant in my memory.
But when you see those kind of shows, it just doesn't. Sometimes, not all, but sometimes they don't because,
But also, it takes a lot to make this a professional production, as when you've got something that has been done so much by so many different companies, to actually make it feel polished as a professional production.
As a what?
You
put your teeth in.
Yeah, as a professional production, it's very difficult to get that polish right, and he nailed it really.
Yeah, and I think it's because with this production, there's, especially from the script, there's so many beats to hit.
Oh,
and for me, this is what I was talking about, the amateur bit. Sometimes they don't hit every beat.
No, they say the words, but not.
The characteristic is wrong or something.
Yeah,
but this is every beat was hit.
And this production isn't just about the words. It's a production that's about a look, a glance, a movement, a subtlety that happens between the characters.
Showing the subtext between each character.
If that isn't there, you've got almost just a comedy piece that people just go, oh, it's funny, it was worth a watch. But this felt on it. It was like your eyes were drawn, and I think that was where the directing really came in to make sure that was in there, because it's very difficult to... It's easy to just throw it away as a director and think, well, they've said the words, but, you know...
Everything about this production so far that we've talked about has been spot on.
Yeah, exactly.
Shall we find out how we think about the acting?
Moving on to our next segment, as we say, we're here for the drama.
The moment I've been waiting for. Oh, Richard, I can't wait to talk about the acting.
Would you like to talk about the acting, Stephen?
I think we need to talk about the acting.
I think you want to talk about it first, though.
Because, okay, so we've got the good parts out of the way. Yes, the set was great.
Yeah.
The directing was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, the acting, it was sublime. It was excellent all the way through from every single actor. My God.
They've got to be so proud of what they've put together.
Absolutely.
And it must be, I mean, it must be exhausting at the end of it, because they've just, and this is...
Poor Rebecca. I mean, hello.
Totally. I mean... Rebecca's literally on stage all the way through it. There's no, and we talk about people. There's no let up. There's no scene changes where they can walk off stage and have a break. It's literally always on.
There were a few bits where she did nip off to do stuff, but either she was talking off stage or she was busy getting stuff.
Yeah, nothing off stage was pre-recorded. It was them stood off stage in the wings, just adding more like dialogue into it.
And we've got every single one of these actors that were in character all the way through completely. So,
and the minute they walked on stage, you knew they were the characters. It was they were on. It was so important.
Yeah. So we had Rebecca Birch, who played Beverly. We had Joe Castleton, who played Susan. Alice DeWarreney played Angela. George Redshaw played Tone. Tone. And Tom Richardson, who played Lawrence, and every single one of them played their role just spectacularly well. I've never seen a production like this where I've just been so thrilled and it's been on my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
For a long time. I mean, yes, we had Pride and Prejudice, sort of.
Yeah.
That was excellent. And The Bones, that one. I can't remember that episode. That
Drive your wagon over the plough.
Drive your wagon.
Over the
Drive
bones
your
of
plough
the
over the bones of the dead.
That's
what. Drive your wagon. That was top notch.
Really
stuff.
was. Yeah.
They were. This was up there with them.
It really was.
Mean?
Yeah, totally.
Know what I mean, Tone?
Know what I mean.
And considering we've seen Boeing, and that was okay, that was good.
Yeah.
You know, I think thinking back, the set was a bit maybe lackluster on that, the background of the set. I think I did pick up on a few bits, but that's going back into the past now.
Yeah.
However...
That's a different episode.
But same theatre company.
Yeah.
And this has just been fantastic.
So
this is
much
where
care
they
and
just
attention.
nail it every single performance. And we have Jo Castleton, who plays Susan, and she was in Boeing.
Yes.
She played Maud, I think. I think that was her name, Maud. So when she entered as the neighbour, the mother of Abigail, she gave such a concerning performance, and it was so subtle. It was every little... I mean, she didn't speak much.
No.
But she came across as the character where she was constantly put on.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time. So those little looks, the way she sort of was and acted, and the characteristics of that and the performance was just great to watch, because that particular role, and I'm starting with her first, that particular role could so easily just been ignored or just forgotten.
Well, exactly.
Or just not that, because there was less lines as such, but there wasn't much.
It's all about reaction and facial expression and
being
being
that
there,
character and living it.
Yeah. And showing all those emotions and things that are happening.
Yeah. Oh, and bless her. And the fact that when she had to go and have a fag, and she was piling on these crisps because Bev kept giving her crisps, and what was her name? And Angela kept giving her peanuts. You know, you haven't eaten, eat some peanuts and stuff. She kept piling them in her hands and on her lap and stuff, and then having a fag. And
it's also
how
showing
she
that-
reacted to, juggling all them things, and she didn't really want any of them.
No, and she didn't want any of them, but she was being too polite to say no, and
Yeah.
and it just puts that panic, and you could see the panic on her face, and she's trying not to be.
And also sitting through the awkwardness of what,
of all the things
of what's going on,
Yeah.
the frictions between the two couples,
Yeah.
not to mention the fact that some of them are getting drunk, some of them get stressed out, and
Well, it was that person at a party with nobody else to talk to, and always that one
the odd
that's
one.
everybody's trying hard to include, but they're still the odd one in the room. And that's what it came across as, and
the comedy that comes out of this.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just hilarious.
it adds that thought that you're having, and you're seeing it happen on stage, or you're feeling
Yeah.
you're feeling that awkwardness.
Yeah.
It's sort of amped up and ramped up by that person just being there. That's like,
Yeah.
I'm this person in the room, and I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, and the reason why I started with this particular character by mentioning her is because at the start of the play, you get introduced to the first two and then the second two. And for a while, I forgot there was another one.
Yeah.
I forgot there was another character. But once Sue appeared, it's like, okay, so this is a fifth element here. This is another corner to the hexagon.
And
I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, but you can see how it's written to. It's like she just comes in at the lull of introducing all the other characters, and it's like it just ramps it up to like the next bit, and it's like it adds more levels to
again,
the performance.
It ramps it up without her
Exactly.
coming in like a cannonball.
She's just
like a wrecking
physically
ball.
there,
She's
and that's
physically
the,
there,
yeah.
not causing the tension, but she's sort of like a witness. I suppose, in a way, her role is indicative of our role as a viewer as well.
It is,
in a
but
way.
also she's the role that links to Abigail's party.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
she's that person with the information of the noise
Yes.
and the things that are going off. So even though you don't get much,
Yeah.
you just get some of the gaps filled in as to where Abigail's party fits
Yeah.
in. But that just comes out through very small and short words.
And sometimes I wonder if that might have been an afterthought. It
Yeah.
could have been the fact that this play might have not been called Abigail's Party,
Yeah.
because it could have just been a
When it
play
was
about
first
the
written,
two
yeah.
couples.
But
devised.
it was almost like it's been written to add more chaos to the production in a way.
Yeah.
Because it needs that. It's like,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
the yes, that character might have come in a bit later on, and then yes, there was more things going on.
Yeah.
But then I suspect maybe the title didn't come until afterwards when they worked out that she was there because Abigail was having a party, and then
Yeah.
it's like okay, yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
we'll call it this.
yeah.
I think I don't know. I don't know. I'm just
But it's interesting to
Pondering
the writing.
again.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to ponder.
But back to the acting. We keep diverting. Don't we?
That's just the natural process.
I think it's good. We didn't start with a cup of tea. Straight to coffee. Well, I had a red wine.
Well, you're on red wine.
And so the next one we'll talk about. Won't talk about any really, but Tone.
Yeah.
George Redshaw. Classic character there.
And equally, so I'm glad you brought Tony in like now, because for me, Susan and Tony are very much the silent roles
They are. Yes.
in the production.
Yes.
So it's very, in contrast, he's very much the macho, quietly spoken man that
Yeah.
you don't know much about his character, but every word he uses, you'd like, oh, okay, this is
Large presence, little volume.
Yes, yeah, but very almost secretive, but almost you intrigued as to knowing what actually
what's going on. What's under the
where's
surface
he
there?
about? What's he about?
Why doesn't he get on with Angela? What's going on? I mean, we all know probably why, with the way Angela was portrayed, But there's essence of something else going on under there.
And you find out other bits from other characters who mention things he's done or been, but you still it's still like that person that's the unknown, like you don't know his full personality. He's got some.
Yeah.
And
it was quite funny just seeing him just give certain looks.
Yeah.
And the bit where he's bumping and grinding with Beverly on that dance, when it became to like a bit of a split stage. So you had Lawrence and Sue dancing, then Bev and Tone.
Yeah.
And then Angela putting hula hoops on her fingers.
Yeah.
so we didn't know which way to look. But each of them had certain elements of the characteristics that they were doing to this dance.
Yeah.
But the moment he had to try and sit down with a bit of an erection, you don't hide that. It's like everyone knew what the situation was here, but he did that so.
And it was very British, stiff upper lip.
Yeah, well, stiff. Well, something was a bit. Oh, Miss says.
I think as well for me, it was the build up to that. It wasn't necessarily that scene. It was the
build up.
It was the Tony and Beverly scene all the way through the production.
All the way through.
It was the subtlety. I talked earlier about the non-spoken parts. Yeah. It was the looks, the little uncomfortable moments where there was flirting, but Tony didn't really know what was going off, and it was like, he wasn't sure. It was like, is this flirting or is she just drunk, or is it? It was all those like, and the
more drunk they got, the more provocative she got,
and there was blocking moments like from the directing perspective where Beverly would be sat in one of the armchairs. Beverly walked up to get a drink, then Tony would be in that chair that was still warm from Beverly sitting in it. So it was like they were chasing each other round in such a slow, subtle way that they were always on each other a little bit, and everybody missed it in the room because you could almost see. It was almost like they directed it where somebody was looking away at the point where that happened, so that it showed that. It was all done behind the scenes almost, and it was until that the erection moment,
Yeah, and also I think how he portrayed the character was just spot on because he added mystery.
Yeah, he did.
And there was humour in there, and dare I say, I don't know what's going on between Tone and Lawrence, but I don't know about you, but I felt. When they went out and they came back and something was a change, it's like, what were they up to?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? There was a bit of an under.
And I think that was clever as well because even now we don't know.
No, we still don't know.
We still don't know. Something happened in that house at Abigail's party.
Yeah, why were they looking at each other? Like something had
gone off. And he was wet. But they still didn't tell us.
Down the side of a house.
But that's the cleverness of writing a production like this. If it leaves you guessing, they've done their job.
Yeah, but then we could just be perverted.
But it keeps people guessing and thinking and wanting to see it again, and that's
the whole way they portrayed it. It definitely had some kind of. It was all about friction.
It was an undertone. It was something, wasn't
this whole production was about frustration and friction between everything, and I wonder if. There was some kind of
and selfishness in a way,
friction between Lawrence and Tony.
Yeah, there was history or something.
Yeah, that went beyond them liking women because at the end of the day, Tony wasn't really interested in Angela,
no.
And I think he was only interested in Beverly to get a reaction out of Lawrence.
Yeah, there's totally an undertone of.
Oh, it might have been.
Well, I don't know if the undertones were there. I just think it gave you that subtlety and that there's something happening here that you can't quite put your finger on all the way through it.
Yeah, there's definitely something.
And it was about selfishness as well from Beverly, where it's all about her. It's me, and also, I mean, for me, Alice de Warrenay, sublime performer.
Well, let's just move on to her then. Shall we?
Yeah, I think we need to.
Yes.
Because to embody a character and...
to embody such an irritating character and make her out to be irritating. Well, actually, she's quite sweet in a way.
She is.
Very innocent.
Her head's always in the clouds, like, we're distracted in a dream world, we'll always be happy. But then something she said and came out with, voice. Oh my God.
Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes you can deliver a word or a line or whatever in a normal voice, and it just doesn't quite hit there.
Yeah.
You put on a different voice for that particular character, and those words just work like a dream, and they just bring the house down with laughter.
And from a performer's perspective, the pauses and the timing were absolutely spot on.
Absolutely.
To know when the audience are going to laugh and just hold off, but still be in character before you deliver your next line, and then hit it hard again. and know that you're working an audience, that you're just going to keep pushing them, and it was just.
But in a way, she had a difficult job to do.
Yeah.
Because whenever there were tensions going off between the others, she's normally the one that has to break the ice.
Yeah, she's the bull in the china shop.
It's her voice that cuts through the silence because she says something stupid.
Yeah.
And this is very much the example at the very end where the dramatic thing is happening to Lawrence right on the floor, and Beverly needs consoling because she's in hysterics.
Yeah.
Angela gets the cramps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what a better way to sort of nearly end the show.
Yeah,
with
with
it
cramp.
just being, the more concerned about having cramps in the legs than the dead body on the floor.
Yeah, and that is the perfect sort of description of how her character just almost gave you that comic timing that you needed within this. Also said some quite cutting things a lot of the time.
Definitely. The more drunk she got, the more the truth kind of tripped off her tongue.
But also that she's actually quite a little bit twisted as well, and she's very much in control of what she's doing.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. That was, was, she might come across as ditzy in her own dream world, but actually she's not. There's a lot more depth.
And the bit about her independence as well. That brought the house down as well, because I think everybody had been there once or twice.
Yeah.
And I think for the fact that all she did was, in character, drunk, try to put hula hoops on her fingers and just make everyone laugh the tits off, basically, at this.
And I'll be honest, you can direct somebody being drunk as much as you like, but if somebody can't play drunk and progressively get drunk throughout the production, that was the key thing with this.
Was that the key?
It was the key thing, yeah.
Oh, but was it the secret?
I think it was. Well, it might have been the secret. I think
What's
it was.
your
It was
secret?
definitely the secret to it, because you saw the progression of just the odd sway or the odd stumble, or to like later down the line where the hula hoop scene, where because she'd obviously got to that point in her alcohol where she just needs to look at something, but she can't quite focus, so she can't quite see the hula hoops, but she's gonna have a go. And then there was like moments where her and Beverly were leaning on each other, and then pushing a cushion behind Susan after she'd been sick and making her feel comfortable, but really not totally uncomfortable. But being a nurse,
not knowing her own.
She was being a nurse. I think that was what we saw. That
her strength.
It was like she was being the matron on the ward. She was like, I'm going to do the motherly love. You will sit down and enjoy.
But there's more no control of your nervous system.
Yeah, exactly.
And know how far you can push things as well. And did you notice that? When they kept drinking, the moment they stood up, that's when the world started spinning for them.
Yeah.
And you could definitely
see that. We've got drunk quick now. Yeah,
because when Angela was trying to get Sue's bag, because there might be something in it for her, she was like swinging that around. I honestly thought she was going to collapse and headbutt the sofa and fall down.
It was just so close.
Funny as well.
It would.
Yeah, the fact that she just swung it around and almost taking Sue out. She was sat down.
And Sue was reacting equally as well with that it was going to happen.
It was like sitting in a room full of drunken people, and you're the sober one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, it's all kicking off in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then let's talk about Lawrence. Tom Richardson. He started
Mr. On Edge.
Yes, definitely Mr. On Edge.
Mr. Not actually dealing with his issues and just letting everything build up on his shoulders and
pretty much maybe like a workaholic trying to get everything done.
Yeah.
Trying to.
But also trying to please too many people all the time and end up where he can't actually. He's everything's all over the place, because I suppose you saw that at the start when he's arranging meetings for 8 o'clock after a night of alcohol.
Yeah, but instead of abiding by his time, he's trying to slot in for everybody else's and make them happy.
And by doing that, his stress levels are through the roof, and he's not actually staying calm ever at all.
No, and I think he added a little bit of performance from the original as well. I think when there was on the, I haven't got the script, so I don't know. But when he was on the phone, he lifted his leg up like he was trying to get over. That is in the DVD. So whether it's
Yeah.
scripted and specifically does that, I don't
Yeah.
know. It might have just been a character thing, but I noticed that he did do that.
Yeah.
So that was quite. Well, it was good that he did it,
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
but it wouldn't have been odd if he didn't either. Do you know what I mean?
No, I
wouldn't
know
have
what you mean.
noticed
No,
as
no,
well, but it was
exactly.
just one of them character things. And another character thing that he did was every time he was offering something like an olive or a cheese and pineapple on a plate, on a stick to Sue or whoever, he would kneel down, crouch down to
was
their eye level to offer in a very,
It's like a waiter in the Ritz. It was like, I've got to please, I've got to, anything you want. And it was like, with a level of stress in his eyes.
and it was also a level of smarminess about it in terms I got Gordon British from the British Empire.
Totally.
From
Yeah,
that.
totally
Do you know what
did.
I mean?
Yeah,
It was
I
very
do.
Chris Barry.
Yeah,
And I thought,
yeah.
actually, in a certain light, he looks slightly quick. I wonder if he's related.
Maybe.
Quite, Chris Barry-esque.
I think with the intenseness of, like, the viewing it's almost like he's striving to be posh and be very well spoken and educated and understanding
I think he's probably
art.
trying to be up with the Joneses.
And then you've got Beverly, who's completely the opposite as his wife, who doesn't care about anything he's saying. So he's always trying to be heard, and every time he says it, he's pushed down and pushed down and pushed down.
Yeah.
So when it comes out like a big outburst, because it's like, but I still care about the arts and this and the other, and it's like,
but it was all built up properly and in due course.
Yeah, totally.
So every time he left and came back, he would still carry on his business. He would still either make a sandwich for himself or somebody else, or he would still do stuff.
Yeah.
But then whenever there was an interaction with Bev, and when she was flaunting more and he could see it, what's going on, that's when he got more tense or whatever. But it's quite funny that he was quite repressed in that aspect.
Definitely.
So whether something else is repressed, I don't know. But he wouldn't try and control her as such as I know a lot of other men probably would, or as probably Tony would shout at Angela to say whatever.
My favourite scene, really, that Lawrence did was obviously at the start. He was arranging meetings, going to get keys for properties, and he was going out to go and have a meeting before the party started, and this, that, and the other. My favourite bit was when he entered in with his briefcase after coming back from doing all his meetings, and he'd been asked to get beer and he'd been asked to get this, that, and the other. He hadn't brought any of the beer, and all you saw was him walk on stage, looked at Beverly, and then walk back out of the door.
Yeah.
And that,
she
for
gave
me,
one stern look, and that was it. Off. And everyone laughed.
And that's so difficult to do because no words are needed, nothing said, and if you can't throw that moment away. But there was chaos in the room. Everybody was talking. Everybody was up. You were finding bits about everybody. Everybody was in the room, and then he just walked in and walked back out again, and you knew exactly what was happening.
I think it helped with the fact that everyone was paying attention to the show.
Yes, exactly.
If people were dozing off, they probably wouldn't have got it.
And I think that's where pace comes in with this. It was like 1 minute that's happening, then that's happening, then that's happening. There was no moment where you weren't focused on what was happening, and I think that's the important thing. And that just made it funny because I just loved that moment. I think it said a lot about the production that the unspoken was just as funny as the spoken.
Oh, absolutely. And, he was just believable as Lawrence, and they all were believable in their characters, which brings us rather neatly to Beverly.
Yeah.
Rebecca Birch.
Stunning.
I thought she was amazing. From the moment she stepped onto the stage and she started dancing, she had everyone in the palm of her hands.
She was... She was Beverly.
She made the character her own, and how she delivered the lines. It was very quick-witted as well, very quick-paced. It wasn't like anyone you could stumble over a line. No. She delivered every line perfectly.
And it was delivery. It was conviction of voice. You could hear every
conviction of character.
Every part of that script was not thrown away. All the bits that she said, and you heard every bit. There was lots of diction.
Yeah,
it was there. You didn't lose anything through an act, because she had a London accent. She was very much that Londoner that grated a lot, and that selfish person. You felt that selfishness,
but in a way, her portrayal didn't come across in any way grating. It
No.
was it was very captivating.
Yeah, it
her
was.
performance was. It's excellent, top notch. It was a stellar performance, and also it wasn't just the words she said. It was everything she didn't say. Like you were saying earlier about all those little moments of action that wasn't dialogue and all that, and the way she flirted with Tony and her aggression, the way she gave sharp looks to Lawrence, all that was spot on.
When she collapsed in the armchair and just like was flirting with Tony, and there was everything else was happening around her, and there she is stroking her neck bone, and it was just like
and even the put downs to Angela. Oh, one of the best things best little scenes of this was when Sue came in with a bottle of wine. She goes to find it off the table.
Yeah.
Oh, Sue, did you bring us some wine? Look, Angela, look what Sue brought as a gift. Isn't that nice? You know, rubbing it in that Angela just hadn't brought anything as a gift.
She was the guest that never brings anything to anyone.
Sort of delivery of such great poisonous lines.
A bit like me not bringing cake to today.
Yeah, where is my cake?
Well, I'm sorry. I gave you some flapjack. Is that enough?
Well, I had to have 2 out of a pack of 1 that had 3 in it, and you've already had 2
it wasn't
packs.
really a full portion, was it?
Pack.
But it wasn't really a full portion, was it?
Really touched the sides. But anyway, we digress, because it's a little bit selfish of us to talk about our own little plight of cakes. When here's Rebecca with an excellent performance.
I know, and stunning performance.
Even during the end, it was all about her.
Exactly.
And that was just great. But again, with that, which I remember saying to you, the moment things started to turn sour for Lawrence and he was on the floor and Angela was doing so hard to revive him, once she stopped speaking, she was shaking.
Yeah.
And I was fixed, not in a weird way, but I was looking at everyone's reaction for this podcast, and I was seeing what they're all doing. And you could see that whilst everyone was looking shocked and everything, it was her in particular that I noticed was really, really shaken and like really. I could feel. It's odd,
exactly.
but I could feel her.
Yeah.
Turn cold. Like I could feel. I felt Tony getting a bit.
You felt everybody so sober up. It was like you just
even
so.
Sue,
yeah.
She was like on the phone to the ambulance. And,
well, it's like Angela when she's actually giving CPR and this, that, and the other. You felt like we've had cold water thrown over everybody. Yeah. And you felt it. You felt that like we're all back in the room. We've got to do something, regardless of how drunk we are. We've all got to even. And I mean, obviously, Beverly deals with that stress by talking about herself and what how it's affected her. Not how flicking her out everywhere.
Lawrence, move it away, and even. I love the bits where she was putting a record on and she was getting irate because Lawrence wanted her to turn it down or change the track completely. Yeah. But even when she's saying, "Oh, do you want to listen to such and such?" Yes, you do. Tone, do you want to listen to such and such?
Yeah.
Sue, you bother? All of us want to listen to it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna put it on, please.
It was basically the same as the bottle, but done in the
Yeah, and I mean, credit goes to the writing definitely, and,
it really does.
The original characters who helped devise that piece. However, the performances that we saw today, and I put it out on social media, this is how you do Abigail's party.
It is.
You want these kind of actors, this cast as like the new version of it to showcase just how good it should be. Because not one of them misdirected anything. No. Not misdirected, but dropped a line. Not one of them.
Not at all.
Was wrong or miscast in any way. Everyone was on top of their game, and all credit to every one of them. And sometimes, if someone does an excellent job, I will give a shout out, but I can't on this one because each actor did amazingly.
I felt like nobody was doing the heavy lifting because nobody needed to.
Absolutely,
there was not like one character that had to lift everybody else up to. Yeah, because we've seen other productions where we've had famous people in productions and this, that, and the other, and you feel like the cast are heavy lifting those up. Whereas this felt like everybody was at that high level of just understood their whole thing.
This is a production where the actors, you got tens across the board here for every single one of them for everything. And, I mean, Rebecca as Beverly, she was the linchpin in this. she was the main character. So, of course, more attention has gone to her in terms of how we view the show, because she's the one that's directing everything. And if it wasn't for her, the play wouldn't have happened. I mean,
No, exactly.
the character. So that's mostly your focal point.
Yeah.
But each one of them, you know, played a blinder.
But I also feel as well, to put this in,
Oh,
I don't know what I'm putting in. No, I also feel that
you go steady.
when you've got a cast that are as good as this, you wouldn't have noticed any slip-ups. Because they're so in their characters
Yeah.
that if something had have fell or somebody had have tripped, somebody would have made a quip or a something that would have got them straight back
you
on
know
the
what?
script. You wouldn't have noticed anything go wrong. A bit like a panto, inside out, upside down. You have to know the script as in your characters to just...
Yeah, and you say that, and I think something did happen.
There was a slight moment with Beverly. There was something
It was
happened.
Beverly and somebody else, whether it was Lawrence or
in the
Tony,
court, in the middle of the room.
near the record player.
Yeah, it was near the record player.
Yeah, and I can't remember what happened,
But
they recovered. I think it was tone.
Yeah, but the recovery we weren't even clockable. It's only because
we don't know if it was even written like that. But
No.
it looked. Yeah.
I think you just wouldn't know. I mean, I watch things and I do see things happen that you think that might not have been able to happen, but this was something you just...
And another thing, I think when Angela had... she threw the fag packets near the end to Beverly on the couch. Whether one came out...
Yeah.
And she popped it on the side, and then they... I don't know if they ad-libbed or something around that, but they still worked because Bev ended up passing Angela a fag to light it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's not...
No, and that's the perfect bit.
Like, did that just happen, or was that scripted? I'm not quite sure.
But you were hit with the next part of the production anyway,
But it
so you
didn't
haven't got time to,
Yeah.
But I think there's a
I
difference.
think it's only because we got keen eyes looking at
Yeah,
the thing.
I think,
and
I think as well, we talk about characterization and realism in the productions. This felt like you were sat in that front room.
Yes.
And it felt real. It didn't feel like there was a script, really. It was like you just felt like you were...
That's because it's from a devised piece,
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone, I think, just got your wants and needs from a character perspective.
Exactly.
I think I remember rightly.
Yeah.
My goodness. The quality of acting in this is just phenomenal. It really is. And I've never been so proud of something. I think maybe it helped sitting in the front row, but, when it came to like the very end, it's like, right, I'm standing up for this. I don't care who can't see.
Exactly.
I'm standing up. This is a standing ovation. And
it deserved it.
When they were bowing, I'm saying it now, Rebecca looked me in the eye and she said thank you.
You got a glint.
I did, yes.
You did.
So, yes.
But no, Rebecca, Tom, Alice, George and Joe, just phenomenal.
Quite annoying that this isn't filmed.
Is it wrong to say that?
Because I'd want to see this again. And
is it wrong to say that if you watch the BBC version?
I feel like
well, that's what I'm saying. It's like
I know, right?
I feel like I couldn't. This is the bar.
Yeah.
The sets. This bureau with the mini bars. The bar.
This is Abigail's party.
Yeah.
The thing you see on the TV. No,
not now. This is
not now.
Moving on to our next segment, as we say, what the tech is this?
So we're back to talk about the technical aspects. After we've put the kettle on, we've had a brew and we're recharging our batteries, and Richard still wants to talk. My goodness, where will it end? I'm on the Rui Bush.
Oh. Here, we're getting trimmed.
Yeah. Red Bush in a glass.
You get bits in your teeth.
Like
Picking hairs out for years.
Oh. Can we please talk about the technical aspect before we end up talking about chaos? Or going into chaos, not the chaos theory.
Well, it was lit.
I don't know what's going on. What is in this tea?
I don't know. You've had it. You made it.
I
haven't got it.
I think it might have been that wine this time round.
Are you sure it was Roy Bosch?
Roy Bosch. This is getting insane now. Right, let's talk about the technical aspect.
Okay, so
so
you were going to say something then.
Well, it was. So what I really liked about this, and it's the only thing I'm going to pick up on because then you can cast your little beady eyes on it, was I liked the background music that was played to one side as if it was coming from Abigail's party.
Yes.
And all the other little bits, like when it came to the record player. That was a working prop. And the arm moved when they pressed play.
Yeah, and it retrieved when they stopped
retracted.
it. Yeah. And the turntable was going around.
Yes, it was.
It does matter for a production like this. You want to see those records move, and even though they're not the records that are providing the music, it's all come through the speakers.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Because one record was extremely dirty.
Oh.
As someone who likes collecting vinyls...
I've got my vinyl and I don't like it looking like that.
That needed a deep clean.
It was more than smudged.
Oh, it was. But that's probably the one that's constantly played. It's like the dummy one.
Yeah, but you don't get thumbprints on a vinyl.
Oh, sacrilege.
What was he eating to get thumbprints like that?
Olives.
Greasy chips.
No. Cheese and pineapple on sticks.
It was crisps. It was the crisps.
Greasy oil.
Greasy
Know you chomped them all.
Well, yeah, no, yeah. But,
what was my portion?
I think,
can we just stop diverting and go back?
I was going to go back in.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking your nose in.
I think on the bookcases and bureau at the back, what on top of the actual bookcases were two.
I don't know where you're going.
I do.
I'm listening. I'm trying
attention to detail.
I'm trying to be the audience.
I'm going with the attention to detail.
Member that listens to this sad podcast. And I'm trying to understand where they're coming from.
One.
And I don't get it. Kate, your mum as well. And it's like, what are you getting at?
I'm getting at the fact that the two speakers were actually at the top of the stage on the bookcases for that record player.
That's all you needed to say.
Yeah, well, you jumped in before I had a chance to finish.
You needed a bit of a slap and some direction because you were going all around the houses about the bookcase and the ornaments.
Well, maybe I
need
Michael Cabot to come over and tell us how to do it well because, he knows.
No, I think you need something.
No, I think it was well done in the fact that none of the cues are missed for the sound effects, as in there wasn't a lot of sound effects, but all the volume... You can edit it. You've had too much wine.
It's not the wine, it's the red bush. I'm telling you. You start off saying something, then you switch tracks.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think and we've got to get back into it. That's why.
Then no one told you to think before you speak.
No.
I'm telling you now.
I told you again. Because I know you're going to laugh. No, I think when the records were picked and played, there was a attention to detail paid on... Played. You're just losing it now. There was attention to detail paid to the record sleeves and having the right one in the right time for the actual scene that it was being talked about. But not every record was at the front ready to be pulled out to show it. They did have to thumb through them like they were on the rack, and they weren't just in order of the way it was being talked about in the script.
Yeah, they do it normally.
It felt
natural.
It felt natural, and then they'd stand one up to show what was playing, and and I think that helped with this because that was just another level of keeping within that feel of the production and the 70s style. And the speakers that were on stage were the same speakers that would have come with the actual record player, even though there was others hid probably somewhere in the back behind the flats in the black of the stage, which was, for me, it's important when the production's a 70s production. I don't want to see new fangled technology anywhere to be seen on this stage, and I think that was the cleverness of this. Whatever speakers they used to give the low bass and the noise from Abigail's party that was down the street, you felt like they'd almost put speakers at the back of the stage, right at the back wall, so you felt like there was a distance from you felt like it was 4 doors down or 3 doors down. You didn't feel like it was just coming through the speakers at the front of the stage to an audience, like, oh, you can hear a bit of noise. It felt distant, and I think that attention to detail was important to create that sound space, so you feel like that you're in that location. Lighting wise, I mean, it was quite interesting that they lit the set with quite a pink hue, when you started, all the wallpaper looked pink and grey, really.
In my eyes, we're just seeing a load of brown.
Yeah.
And that's what I assumed the wallpaper was. I didn't think there was a light on it as such.
And then when the lights came up on stage, it was actually green and black. Almost green, blacks and greys, wasn't it? The wallpaper,
greenish and palish, creamish as well.
And it was so that was really well done.
I mean, it was cunning.
The production was very basically general cover. It was in one room, so you didn't really have any changes as such. But I think it was well lit. I mean, the main sort of exciting lighting effect was the fibre optic in the corner. That was very of the time and very newfangled of the 70s, really.
I had one of them.
Yeah, I did. But no, I think technically it was great, and I suppose there was a lot more done with props than there was just a flashing blue light at the back when the ambulance arrived behind the glass doors at the back. So
now with the lamp shades over the dining room, they were really nice. Did they ever turn on at all, or the lamp over the front room?
They did. I don't think they did.
Or if they did, it must have been at a time to show the progression into evening time that we didn't notice because we were engaged in the storyline.
Exactly.
At this point, maybe.
I think it's less about things. It's more about what's happening in front of you, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. But again, if they never turn the lights on, then they didn't particularly need them. No. I'm glad that they were there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they weren't out of place, and they didn't feel.
Yeah, they were fitted in.
It didn't feel over the top, and it didn't feel. It was just right.
Okay, so what we can do now is talk about the costume and the props, which might sort of putting into the technical aspect of things now.
Yeah.
Because I forgot.
I think one thing I'd like to shout out is a big shout out to Beck Palmer, who did the set and the costume design. So
absolutely.
It's very evident that one person has had a hold on this as a production, as a set and a costume design, because it's very easy to get a lot of other people involved. They might have been getting involved to source items or find things that were of the period.
Yeah.
But you need one person's look with the director to then make sure that it's very within its time period, and I think that showed from what Beck did really in this.
She made me have a love for walnut furnishings.
Yeah.
And that sofa, honest to God, I want that sofa and the chair.
Yeah,
it will go wonderful. It will go wonderfully in my lounge.
I mean, I want a proper 70s bureau to have as a laptop desk, because I think it'd be ideal. I think as well, not just that, the aesthetics of the characters were right, and each character had let's face it, Beverly looked like she just walked off Pan's People, and she'd got floaty dress, but there was no, because it was a long floaty red dress, it didn't feel like it was glamorous, but it didn't have that feel of over-sexualised or anything like that.
It was more of subtle. An evening gown.
Yeah, it was.
Sort of subtle in terms of wanting attention, but still enough to cover up. So she could play with the subtleties and the sexuality of everything. Yeah. And that kind of thing. And likewise, the costume for Angela is very mousy. The floral costumes, everything just looked a bit clumped up and a bit wrong. And even down to the shoes.
And almost...
The woman behind me, I think the woman was like, look at the state of her shoes.
You could hear her giggling and but not just that, she had also the look of the queen that's just been gone hunting. It was that like country woman that was very. You still felt.
It didn't shove Wellington boots on.
Yeah, it felt like it felt like that straight away. And Tony equally looked like he'd just come out of Starsky and Hutch or a very 70s feel production, like in a 70s
come out
show.
Of the pub or something. Yeah.
And it was very porn star look, wasn't it? And
yes.
Are you doing Tony now?
Yes.
And same as Angela, really. I mean, Angela gave you every look of a Felicity Kendall or somebody in The Good Life or that sort of character.
It's but it was very much a Janini sort of character.
Yeah.
Like off the neighbour from One Foot in the Grave.
Yeah.
That.
Your floral polyester dress that was very
Yeah.
fitted and almost dressing younger than she is with pigtails, that sort of look.
Yeah.
And she'd look like that all the way through her life, really. It was that's her aesthetic. And I think they did it really well where everybody felt unique. And I think that was just as important as the staging. It was everything.
Well, even
worked
down
together.
to the costume of Sue as well, and what she was wearing. Hers was very much like the elderly lady that dressed for warmth.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and her.
But it's practical.
Yes, but it was very, very, not too colourful.
Yeah.
Either it was very much middle of the ground, but also like her character been downtrodden.
Yeah, exactly.
With her divorce and stuff like that. So, in essence, the costumes sort of like become the characters as well. With Angela's being a bit chaotic and Bev's being the sultry one, and even Lawrence having the suit on, very much businessman, and he never got changed when he should have got changed.
No, he was still
he's very
carried on.
Business because it's as if he's constantly thinking about where work.
Yeah, almost like he's going to sleep back out, and he's got to work and work and work, and from the prop side, I think it was. Everything was placed with a purpose. There was like the rug. It was on a walnut wooden floor.
Yeah.
But it would have been a big square rug, but it was cut off and fit the stage perfectly. But also for the dance scene, you saw them move the settee, the sofa, which I didn't think was going to be moved, and it was all. It felt like you were watching a production like when we were kids, and you'd move furniture out of the way and use it to make more space. You'd just chuck it out of the way, put it under everything, and push it away. And it was using that, but also the things like the Lowry that was at the back on stage, and it was never referenced until right at the end of the production.
Yeah,
but.
And
everybody had random pictures on the walls or things that didn't quite fit the aesthetic. It was like that. The Lowry's got nothing to do with almost the 70s because it was very different in design, similar to the Van Gogh in the bureau. It felt everything had a place. And it was it's like the glasses. We talked about the glasses and the things that we used in the bar, and there were it was the smoked glass that they used and things that were very 70s, very, very new and very showy, to show that there was almost wealth because not everybody had that style of glass. So it was well thought out, even down to the
candelabra, the dining table at the back.
Yeah. And there was an element of that the chairs and table at the back almost had a little bit of a 60s reference, like because not everybody got rid of all their furniture from the 60s. Some stuff stayed with them for a long time through the life, so it felt like there was a little bit of crossover which would have happened. It wasn't.
I think my mum and dad had them in the 70s at that table, and I think they would have had like what did you say? The Queen Anne's bureau, China cabinet.
The Queen Anne and the coffee table.
No, I meant the
China cabinet.
China cabinet. Yeah.
I think it's important that you have those references because we've watched other productions like Home I'm Darling where it feels like it's been taken out of a catalogue. Yeah. And this feels more like we're in the 70s. Yeah. Rather than it being...
This is definitely more real.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
And now, it's time for...
Rewind Rewatch.
Richard, I don't know about you, but what's your review Rewind Rewatch going to be? Because I'd want to watch it all again.
I totally agree. I couldn't pick out anything that I wouldn't want to see again.
I think there's so many scenes in this that I'd love to see again.
Yes.
Just the bit where Beverly's having dirty dance with Tone,
Yeah.
and Sue comes in. It's
Yeah.
like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
You know, and that reaction's quite good. The little moments between Beth and Tone are really good as well, and the bits where Angela's just beginning to turn a bit on Tone as well.
I think as well, from my perspective, this is something that I may need a few months between watching this and watching it again, because I'd want to watch it and see things in it almost having a break from it because it was so good.
Yeah,
I'd want to, because it's very vivid now, even in my mind.
Yes.
The day after, I still would like to have a break from it in a good way to then have it have an impact again with me. And I think that's, you know.
This, for me, is very much like Pride and Prejudice, sort of.
Yeah.
I could see this tomorrow instantly.
Yeah,
Book of Mormon, tomorrow. Brief Encounter, tomorrow.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
me. I get what you're saying about giving it a bit more time, just in case, say, like, you get a different performance that doesn't live up to the first one.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll take that risk with this one. I blooming love this. You know, and I wasn't expecting to. I thought,
exactly.
Let's see how okay it will be.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but this is just
Definitely a curveball.
blowing my
In
mind.
a good way. Moving on to our final segment, as we say,
Call this a show?
So to sum up about this play, Richard, I think for me this is just top-notch, spectacular production with everything going in the right direction, everything hitting their beat for everything, and there's nothing bad or wrong or anything. No. This is a 5. This is, well, not 5. Well, it depends what I'm going to rate it as. You know, 5 out of 5.
Give it
not
all the
5
stars.
Out of 10,
give
5
it,
out of 5,
give it all the ratings.
Yeah, this is just, you know, this exceeds anything and more for whatever rating I would give it. This is definitely up there, and for the fact that, like we agreed, this probably beats the original.
Well, yeah,
thing
and
that we've got.
And it might not be a retelling or a reworking or an updating of a production, but it felt fresh, and I think that's, for me, it felt like a brand new production in its own right, and I think that's why you wouldn't want to compare it to the previous, because it's got its own weight and its own performance style that is better than. And you know, I think
it's because it helped with being a bit more pacier.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think you know, to pull off a performance like this takes a great team, and boy, have they got a great team that have pulled this off.
Absolutely.
You know.
So, Richard, could you give me your scores, please, for Abigail's Party on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being better than Abigail's actual party and 1 being a stress-induced heart attack? What's it gonna be?
A big fat 10 out of 10.
Ooh.
And Stephen, what's it gonna be?
I don't know. I think it's gonna have to be a 10 plus.
Oh,
Yes.
are we in Hall of Fame level?
We're in. I think this is what Pride and Prejudice got from me. 10 plus
Oh well.
on this one. So yes, absolutely fantastic. So, what sound effect will you be choosing from the following? A complete train wreck, tumbleweed, an audible shrug of the shoulders, a slow clap, a pleasant applause, or a standing ovation. What will it be?
Well, we may have hinted at what we did earlier. It was a great big standing ovation.
It was absolutely a standing ovation.
Go and see it. It's on till July. Get your tickets.
Yeah, definitely. We've told quite a few people about this and need to go and see it. So there we are. That's our discussion of Abigail's Party. We hope you found it insightful.
If not, entertaining.
Stay tuned as we bring you more of our thoughts
And opinions.
on many theatrical delights in future episodes.
If you'd like to get in touch, email us at upstagedownsstagepod@gmail.com. You can always join in the chat to share with us your views of a production.
Also, make sure to follow, share, like and subscribe to all our channels so you get every episode the second it's released. And we hope you join us again for another instalment of
Upstage Downstage.
Yeah.
we shall move on to the big meat and bones of this production. Ugh. Oh, that's come out of your mouth and out your nose and everywhere. I think you need to go toilet now. Oh, my laptop's gone off. What's going on? There we are. The hole in the wall. Serving catch.
Yeah, the hatch.
Particularly when Angela's looking at the light bulb, light switches. When she's looking, particularly when Angela's looking at the lampshades.
Yeah, exactly. You get there in the end. I think as well because yeah. You know, even though if they're not, I mean, it was quite.
Oh look, even though not what?
Well, no, Beverly, the best. It's like the best. It's like Beverly's party's and where Abigail's not invited, or I don't know, something like that.
Even longer. Abigail's party premiered at the Hampstead. Abigail's party premiered at the Hampstead Theatre in. Abigail's party premiered at the Hampstead Theatre in 1977. A ferocious black comedy and landmark of 20th century theatre. So, Richard, what's it all about?
Stephen is clearing his throat.
Shall I do that again?
Yeah, I think you
Why
should.
were you laughing at premiered?
It's because you were going.
I was fighting back a burp.
I know you were trying to say it, but you were struggling.
Abigail's party premiered at the Hampstead Theatre in 1977.
Sorry. Beverly and husband Lawrence will play a host to a neighbour. Mike Lee's ruthless, achingly funny examination of the 1970s. Right. Okay. Mike Lee's ruthless, achingly funny examination. Mike Lee's ruthless, achingly funny examination of 1970s Britain. Mike Lee's ruthless, achingly funny examination of 1970s British life begins.
And also all the other little bits of... Excuse me, I didn't mean to belch. So we're back now talking about the... What?
Tech.
I know that, but why'd you give it a bit of a weird look?
I don't. I was reading this on the... No.
You would not... The moment I started speaking, it's like, fuck is off.
Oh, yes. Here we go again.
Where's the mute button? Hey!
I'm tempted with the final venue.
Where is it?
Llandudno. Go to the beach.
Ooh! Yes. I'm going to Llandudno and see Abigail's party in July.
By the beach, by the seaside.